All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal Emac coming to you on a Sunday night. We're getting ready for a little Sunday night football. I had to take my socks off. I'm in shorts because I'm in Florida. I don't know how I'm going to be able to watch this game. Will I need a blanket, Greg? Isn't it going to be like 20 degrees?
Mm-hmm. A little bit colder than that where I am, a little bit warmer than that where you are. Let's see. What do I have for myself here, where I am currently wearing a long sleeve shirt, a sweatshirt. I have a space heater going in my office, the central heat on, and I have a blanket on, and I'm still kind of cold. Let's see. It is, 23 here.
Yikes.
23 here tonight.
That doesn't sound fun. Now I'm kind of happy I'm not north of Florida. It's good times here. Good times.
18 degrees tomorrow and 14 degrees on Tuesday.
Oh, that should just be illegal.
It should be. Whoever invented that, I do not like it. It was a bad invention, bad idea.
Oy, good times. Good times. Just as we're gathering people here quickly, the main slate was kind of exciting today. We had Michael Wilson back in our lives. He had a couple touchdowns there. Puka Nacua looked good. Blake Corum took over. I don't even know if he was on anybody's rosters there. I didn't go look at the Millie winning roster. I didn't see how I did. I put 5 in the Millie today, so now I wanted to see what happened. But 100 in, 190 out. I will take that.
Nice. Yeah, that was I just about doubled up in tournaments today, which is always good for a tournament slate. Had a bunch of live lineups too. I think in the $5, I finished with like 3 or 4 lineups, maybe that finished in the top 100 or 200. I didn't check to see how the standings changed based on the end of the final game, but yeah, I had a really nice slate. I was really happy with it.
Yes, the winner does not have a Stokastic avatar, but third place, JBay44, has a Stokastic avatar. The winner was 12 points ahead of second place. So when you go from that first $1 million, second 100,000, if you get beat by 12 points, you can't be mad. You're just like, sweet, I won $100,000. He had Allen, Jacobs, Pollard, Wilson, Nacua, Metcalf, who came on strong at the end, Kincaid, Fannin, and the Titans. So yeah, his secret weapon was Pollard, who was on 0.3% of all lineups.
He was also, if I'm not mistaken, the highest scoring running back, I think by more than 10 points on the main slate. Because it was a fairly low. Oh, no, actually, it wouldn't have been because of all the Corum points. But yeah, Corum might have been as low owned as Pollard was. I think Corum might have been even lower owned. So
he might be in someone's placeholder lineup that forgot to update their lineup.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that lineup is nuts. The one that ended up winning that you just read off there. Big gap between that lineup and everybody else, and super low owned. Like it had some chalk pieces, obviously, like Michael Wilson, who was 42% owned. In general, there wasn't that much pronounced chalk for the slate outside of Wilson. And then just the crazy low owned play in Tony Pollard, 0.3% owned. I'm pretty sure that's the lowest owned player in a Millie making winning lineup this year.
That definitely feels that way. So in any event, let's talk about today's slate. We mentioned it's a little bit cold. We've got both teams definitely playing for stuff. Houston is 7-5. They have a chance, I guess, because Indy lost and Jacksonville won as they played each other today. But going into today, 8-4 for those two teams in the AFC South, and Houston was at 7-5. So they can gain a little foothold here. The challenge for them is if it's kind of a must-win game for them and Kansas City, because similar to the Thursday night game, both these teams will be competing with each other in the wild card because it's unlikely that Kansas City catches Denver at this point. So a lot of implications here. Last I looked, I think Kansas City was favored by about a field goal. The wind was going to be very, very light, like in the 2 to 7 mile an hour range, kind of erring on that 4 mile an hour or lower. You never know what's going to happen with localized wind, but we do want to call that out because it's going to be in the mid 20s. Wind chill is going to take that down to the low 20s. But other than place kickers kicking what probably is feeling like a rock, they shouldn't be overly impacted. But we'll get to that as we break this all down. I don't think we have any serious injury concerns here today. So that would be Good. We'll start off with super chat here, Greg, and then I'll kick us off.
Ooh,
So this is Jansen's here. Got second in the 33 on DK today. Hooah! A1 with the projections. Good info today, guys. Appreciate all you do. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate what you're doing.
I have one thing to say to that.
Kine.
Oh, yeah. Shout out.
The sanitized version, Kine.
Yeah, shout out to Jansen's for the win. If you haven't done it yet, by the way, Jansen's, which I don't know, you may have already done it because, Emac and I are here on the show. If you're playing with the Stokastic avatar, tweet it at us. Get nominated into the Stokastic Hall of Fame. Get yourself some free stuff. Although Jansen's may have also already been in the Hall of Fame a couple of times this year. I don't remember. But Jansen's, yeah, send that win to us. I love to see the wins you guys have and the lineups that you played in them. And, just from using the Sims today, I have a pretty good idea of who was in the lineup. Michael Wilson, it probably had Josh Jacobs in it. It probably had Puka Nacua in it. I have a general idea of who some of the players in the lineup would have been.
All right. Well, all right. This is going to be a fun one because I was flagging a little bit. I've got my tasty Coke Zero here, Greg. So bienvenidos, everyone. Welcome to Day FASA. Siempre Coca-Cola.
Look at you. Look at Emac dusting off the Spanish to introduce his soda to everyone.
Yeah, I learned that 40 or so years ago in high school. It's been a minute. So
it's pretty good that you still remember it, though.
It's funny. It really is funny how my pronunciation is only worse than my accent. But I remember a lot of. I can't conjugate the verbs very well anymore, but I remember a ton of them to get by. So it works well. All right. So CJ Stroud, he was back after missing 3 or 4 games with a concussion. He is going to have a tough matchup. I say tough in quotes against Kansas City here. Kansas City was an outstanding defense, but they've sort of tailed off over the last 4 or 5 games. They have not really been getting a lot of accurate pressure there on opposing quarterbacks. In fact, I believe they have just 1 or 2 sacks over the last 4 games. So it is a little worrisome. But there's been a lot of articles this week talking about their pass rusher guys, their defensive backs, and they're really focused. They want to get back in this. So this is not lost on them either. And they didn't have any major injuries there. So it just could have been, a bit of a breakdown with who they were facing. But that is a call out there. Stroud missed this 4 weeks with the concussion, but he did come back, played last week. He did not have any touchdowns. He had 1 interception, 276 passing yards. That was against Indianapolis. So I would call that a reasonable game. I have 0 worries about him. We can continue to look at the trend and trajectory of the receivers because Davis Mills, remember 3 years ago, he was the starter for 2 years. He performed about the same, some say a little bit better than when Stroud was under center. But I think it's for our passing purposes or looking at the receivers and tight ends. That's pretty straightforward. On that one. And then the last thing I want to call out before I hand this back over to you, Cade Stover returned. Did you know last week he had 4 red zone carries in the Texans version of the tush push, gained 3 yards on 4 carries, but he's 1,600 on DraftKings. Just throwing that out there. What do you like from the Texans passing game?
Yeah, so you guys can see here, I've got the Sims on screen. I got the captain spot sorted by first, but we'll go back over the flex spot to get some of the general exposure just so you guys can look at what everything's looking like there in the flex spot. So starting with the Texans passing game, it's hard to not like Nico Collins, who got off to a very odd start this year in terms of just lack of fantasy production after how good he was last year. And now you look at Nico Collins over the last handful of games, and he's getting back to the guy he was last year. And a lot of it was just volume related. Davis Mills definitely had a good rapport with Nico Collins right out of the gate. But you see Nico Collins now the last, the last 6 games Nico Collins has played in Emac, he's had 10 or more targets in 5 of them, whereas the first 5 games of the season, he only had 10 plus targets in one of those games. So the increased volume for Nico Collins, that's leading to a little bit more production, a little bit more stability as well. So with that in mind, he is not just my favorite pass catcher from the Texans, but I think he's the highest upside pass catcher of either team in the entire game. So Nico Collins, that's definitely somebody who's going to be a priority option for myself. If you look in the captain spot as well in the Sims, you'll see that he is actually the only player on the Texans that shows up in a double-digit amount of lineups or double-digit percentage of lineups in the captain spot. And then if you go ahead and you look in the flex at some of the pass catchers for the Texans, not that many of them show up outside of Nico Collins. We do get some of Dalton Schultz, but it's worth noting that we come in fairly underweight to the field to him. He's expected to be very chalky today. He's playing 36% flex ownership. He only shows up in 24% of lineup. So if we're really talking about core options relative to ownership in the passing game, Emac, it's Nico Collins for me. And otherwise, not really all that many guys. Our Sims are really preferring either the cheap side of the game, some of the pay-up options from the Texans, or Fairbairn as the Texans kicker, which makes sense. If you're not going to play a ton of guys that are Texan skill position players, you're getting a little bit of leverage by playing Fairbairn and hoping they settle for field goals.
All right. Going to some of the tertiary options, which is pretty much everybody but Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz, tight end Dalton Schultz. We have seen rookie Jaden Higgins here. Do you know where he went to college?
I have no clue.
It's where one of your other co-hosts went to college and talks about all the time.
Did he go to Iowa?
Iowa State Cyclones. I got to bring it up on behalf of actually 2 receivers on this team. We're teammates last year with the Iowa State Cyclones, so I got to bring that up. So Higgins does have 3 touchdowns in the last 6 games, but he has been semi-thin with or inconsistent, shall we say, with the targets. Part of that is because Christian Kirk has been dealing with injuries, multiple injuries over the course of the season, missing games, also being impacted in games by those. So he didn't really fulfill the role out of the slot that everybody was expecting him to, though he's seemingly more healthy at this point. If we look in the last 4 games, Higgins has a 16% target share. Kirk is at 14. Xavier Hutchinson, he's all over the place as well, ranging from 0 to 5 targets, but he's got a 11% target share over that span. And the reason I wanted to call out that span was that covers some of the time where Davis Mills was actually the quarterback, but you don't really see that much of a difference. So of those guys here, I don't have a great lean on any of them here. You also get Jalen Noel, who gets a couple targets each week. He's the other Iowa State guy, but he's the punt and kick returner. So they are trying to get him the ball, but they've got, Nico Collins. So he's like, how many playmakers do you need? It's not like they're going to feed him, but he usually gets 1 or 2, like for sure this play's going to him kind of plays. And he plays 20 or so % more often than not. For the tight ends, I did talk about Cade Stover there. The one thing that is important to note is Dalton Schultz is second on the team with 80 targets. He has a 22% target share over the last 5 games. That's he's 22%. So it's really him and Nico, very, very controlling on this. Not many targets are going to the running backs, Woody Marks and Nick Chubb. So it's you can kind of tell where the offense should be going. But we don't know that, right? But last week we were like, oh, I wouldn't really want to play Adam Troutman or whatever. And he was like 3 for 34, which turned out to be a perfectly good score and one of the better scores for the pass catchers last Sunday. But it's one of those where these guys could pop up there. We don't know. We just don't know. And this could be a game where it's hard to tell if there's going to be limited offense because it's so cold and these teams both have good defenses, or if they're going to start pushing each other. So that'll be interesting here. Wrapping up the Houston side just quickly on their running backs. Greg, Woody Marks, their rookie, he's more or less consolidated the backfield. We've seen, Nick Chubb go from 80% to 60% down to 54% last week. So it's been a pretty marked slide there. Marks has 6 targets in that stretch. Chubb has 4. So it's not like Marks is the third down back per se. There's just not a lot of passing to the backfield here. And that is key. Dario Ogunbowale is floating around, but he's mostly a special teamer at this point. He pops up every once a month or so for a touch. And, of course, he's their emergency field goal kicker. Do you remember when he kicked the field goal 3 or 4 years ago? It was actually like a 35-yarder. He came in because the kicker got hurt, so he did kickoffs and a field goal with an extra point in there, too. Good time.
I don't remember that.
You remember everything, Greg. I don't know.
So, it's funny. I remember a lot about MMA. I remember a lot about basketball. I think football, I'm so much less engaged when I'm watching because it's just like I don't know how you consume football, but for me, it's red zone is on the TV. And then I'm either sitting in my bed or on the couch and I'm doing other things at the same time throughout the entire day. So I don't think I like compartmentalize it the same way I do other sports. So I forget stuff about football all the time.
Gotcha. All right. So that kind of wraps up the offensive side there for Houston. Anything else?
One thing I want to highlight something that you had said just to get back to. He's not showing up in very many lineups, but at $1,600, Cade Stover, you had mentioned the tush-push touches that he got. So last week, that ends up meaning that at the end of the day, he had 4 red zone opportunities last week, Cade Stover, which are all 4 of the red zone opportunities he had for the entire year. If this is going to be something that just happens going forward, Cade Stover at $1,600 with a little bit of touchdown equity, I think he's worth considering as a punt. He's not going to show up in a lot of lineups or anything like that, but Emac, if I have to pick one guy from the Texans to punt with, and this is very much based on the information you said before, because I thought that was a really good tidbit. Why not Cade Stover, who got 4 red zone opportunities because of tush pushes last week?
Indeed. Those of you who want to see him in a lineup take on your old pals head-to-heads there. Team Free Money is back. Cash game lineups in the DK lobby, just $1. Pride is priceless. Username Emac. And as Sotex says, I'm funding his daughter's college tuition, 80 cents at a time. Because he beats me. I've been in a slump this year. Hence the name Team Free Money.
You're coming back.
We'll see. We do want to talk about Patrick Mahomes. So did you know that 3 years ago, Patrick Mahomes had the all-time career per game passing yards average through his first 80 games of 303 yards. Since then, it has dropped in just 40 or 42 games. It's dropped down to, I think it's like 287. Passing yards, it's changed dramatically over the years. Mahomes does have, I want to say he has 2 300-yard efforts this year. I think he had 3 last year. But that 300-yard bonus, and this was a guy that was getting it all the time there, it's not happening that much. And that's important to know. Now, he has offset it because, one, he knew at the beginning of the season he needed to run, and now it's kitchen sink time. Right? And they may not make the playoffs. They've been, in the AFC Championship games, 7 years in a row now, and they may not make the playoffs. So that's why we're seeing a lot of Travis Kelce over the last 3 or 4 weeks. Mahomes is not going to be afraid to run because they're at very risk of being actually mathematically eliminated before we get to week 18. So that's important to keep in mind there. But he is, I want to say he's second in the league for passing yards, and I think it's around 269.8. About 10 yards.
Now you're just showing off. He doesn't even have data in front of him. He just pulled that off the top of his head.
He's 10 yards behind Dak Prescott. So those are important things to think about in this. He did have 4 touchdowns against Dallas. I think he had like 250 yards in that game. And he had 350 yards in the week 13 overtime game. So, it's Mahomes. I think he's worthy of the captain slot, but it's a little tricky. I will hand this back over to you. Thoughts on Mahomes, and you can take first crack at the pass catchers.
Yeah, so if I'm going to roster one of the quarterbacks in the captain spot or MVP spot, depending what set you're playing on, it's pretty clear to me Patrick Mahomes over CJ Stroud. Now, the caveat being Patrick Mahomes way more popular than everybody else. Not like insanely more popular, but he's 23% owned in the captain spot. Rashee Rice 17% owned. He's going to be very popular. We have these discussions all the time, Emac. What do I look for if I'm rostering somebody in the multiplier spot? what is the rushing upside? And for Patrick Mahomes, it's pretty substantial. Now, I do think that there was a plan coming into the year for Mahomes to kind of taper off his rushing attempts towards the end of the year, especially once Rashee Rice came back. But what's happened here, Emac, this team is massively underperformed relative to expectations. It looked like they'd put everything together after they beat the Commanders and they were set up to make a playoff push, maybe even win the division, and then back-to-back losses against the Bills and then against the Broncos. Then you have the overtime win against the Colts, followed by last week's loss to the Cowboys. And now all of a sudden, it's a pretty uphill battle for them to get into the playoffs. So what I'm getting at, and the relevance to Patrick Mahomes, is that I thought at this point in the year, they were going to be saving his legs for the playoffs and he wasn't going to be rushing all that much. I don't think they have that luxury anymore. Now it's everything that they can possibly do. They have to win out. They have to win all of their remaining games. So with that in mind, if Patrick Mahomes has the opportunity to run, I think he's going to do it. I think he's going to take hits as well if he has to, because that's what it's going to take for this team to make it to the playoffs. So Patrick Mahomes, to me, if you guys are playing cash games, he's pretty clearly the MVP/captain option. And for tournaments, he's pulling a lot of ownership, but I think the number's more or less warranted. You see that in the Sims as well. He's pulling 23% captain exposure from the field. He's showing up in 26% of top lineups here. So Mahomes, he's chalky, but it seems to be worth it.
All right, I'm dropping the breakdown article here. It's free in the chat. You get one of these for every primetime game, Monday, Sunday, Thursday. Those are the games, the early season Friday games, the Monday night double headers, all of that here. That is free on Stokastic. But I break down every single player. I rank every single player with a comment, both for DraftKings and FanDuel as appropriate. And I break down each team by position. So this is your one-stop shop for everything. Put about three and a half hours into these, each one of these. So you can get it all at once. So when I'm referencing a lot of these stats, I've looked them up and incorporated a lot of them into the article. So this is if you're not able to watch the show or you want a precursor, this usually comes out around noon on Sundays, and then the other days it comes out between noon and 1:30. So there we go. All right. We did talk about the Hall of Fame. You want to talk about maybe a little link join here? I can drop that into chat for us.
Absolutely. And then we've also got a graphic here for the link join as well.
I see Nightbot is back, but I don't know what Nightbot still remembers it's supposed to do. So I will drop that link in there.
We're going to be ramping up Nightbot in the near future, so that'll be something to see. So with Nightbot, yeah, we're gonna get some like tutorials in there, and then different. So like if somebody has questions about the Sims,
how do I use the Sims? What is this?
I tried to do it earlier just to show how it would work, and it didn't work. But the idea is you put like ! Sim. So if somebody says, "Hey, where can I find your tutorial?" Then instead of me trying to find the video post, and I can just do ! Sims, and then the prompt will make it show up, which didn't work this time. But in the future, hopefully, it will be working. But anyway, if you guys do want access to the Sims and all the other tools that we have at Stokastic, links to sign up, it's down below in the YouTube description box. But if you do want to get the best offer imaginable, Emac, you know what's a good price for the Sims?
I think free.
$0.
You know what? I need you to give me something. I'll give you something, but you need to give me something more, and you need to give me the Sims. How can we do that?
Just sign up. Link join page also down below in the YouTube description box. Go through that page. For each one of our affiliate partners you sign up for, you're going to get 1 free month of core access to a single sport of DFS Sims of your choosing. And also, on top of it, Emac, because if this isn't enough for some people, a lot of these books have really good deposit bonus offers where sometimes it's stuff like free bet of up to $1,000 on your first run. Other ones just have match deposit offers. So you guys could get free money on a site you sign up for. You're going to get a free month of Sims, and you get access to another sportsbook also that you have not been using yet. So join our link join program if you're looking to get Sims for free. And once again, those links down below in the YouTube description box. There's a few steps to follow. It's all clearly laid out on the page. Pretty simple to follow.
Yep. And in most states, if you've signed up to a ton of things, I bet you have not yet signed up for Onyx. That is in 40 states, including my state of Florida. All right. So we talked about Mahomes. Rashee Rice has been pretty good since his return. Travis Kelce has his 5 highest snap count games over the last 5. So much like we have Patrick Mahomes running and doing things that you'd want to save him, this was supposed to be, the last 2 years have been supposed to have been rest years for Kelce. They don't have the luxury for that at this point. Yes, he is not, the Hall of Fame level Travis Kelce, almost as good as half of the number 1 wide receivers in the league anymore. He's still a decent tight end, great hands, and defenses have been playing off him because he doesn't really have that downfield burst anymore. So you look at his yards after catch number, they're not bad, but it's because no one's around him when he catches the ball because he really can't take it that far. And he's lucked into a few broken plays here and there, but he's not as fleet of foot as he once was. But he is still one of the most dependable targets that Mahomes has. I would put Rice up there as the other. Noah Gray is back. He missed the last game with a concussion. That pushed Robert Tonyan into a few more plays. Expect to see him on 8 to 12 tonight, but unlikely to get a target. I think he only has like 3 or 4 targets for the year. And then they have their second-year tight end, and he played 8 or so snaps last week. I'm sure he's not. I didn't look at inactives, but I'm sure he's not even active tonight because that was his first action of the season. But Noah Gray, someone we like to call out every now and then. He usually plays about half the snaps. I think we're going to see him on the field more just to stave off some of this Houston passing attack. So I think we could see some more 2 wide receiver sets, which for Kansas City are really 3 wide receiver sets because Kelce's not really a tight end, even though he's done a decent job of blocking as he's evolved more into the less downfield threat and needs to keep his value for the team. So I hit the highlights there. What do you want to do with all these question mark receivers? And I think we have to include Xavier Worthy in that now.
Yeah, Worthy's been a disappointment this year, Emac. I don't know what your thoughts were on him coming into the year. Like, I didn't think he was going to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL or anything like that, but I thought that he was going to be a wide receiver 1 for fantasy purposes in the absence of Rashee Rice. And then it was going to be, depending how well Worthy played, he had potential to be the Chiefs' number 1 wideout even after Rashee Rice came back. But instead, he's just kind of been like this boom bust gadget guy who busts way more than he booms. So for a 1-game slate where he's going to be, 26% owned in the mid-range, and then in the captain spot, he is... see, where's Worthy? He's not even showing up in any lineups in the captain, only a couple percent ownership for him there. He's okay. There's clearly an upside there. If you get the ceiling game from him, he's like a poor man's Jameson Williams, then yeah, you might have to have him in the mid-range, but I've kind of gotten away from playing him, Emac. I can't remember the last time I was heavy on Xavier Worthy on even a showdown slate, which is where the Chiefs play most of their games now.
Yeah, it's been a good 6-7 weeks since I have been fired up for him. We got to remember, though, he did get hurt very early in the first game of the season when Kelce, again, not so fleet of foot, missed his timing part of a crossbuck play and actually hit Worthy instead of one of them picking the other guy's defender off there. And that was unfortunate because that took Worthy out. And then he had a shoulder issue. So he didn't really get back to full health till there was only a couple games left before Rashee Rice came into play. So I think the best way to say it is, like you said, the ceiling's there. It's definitely there. We're just not seeing it that often. And that's the disappointing part. And it really comes down to touchdowns. I think he only has 1 or 2 on the year. It's not very many. And if he had half a dozen touchdowns, we'd be saying, oh, just like you said, hey, if you can get the good game, oh, it's going to be nice. And it's like, touchdown variance could be part of the issue. So,
yeah, and people are pointing out in the chat that he has gotten the opportunities in the red zone. There are times they draw up, gadget plays for him as well. But, you just look at Xavier Worthy overall for the season where he's been inefficient with the work that he actually has gotten. So you look at the recent games, like 6 targets last week, did catch 4 of them for 61 yards. But his high point for the entire season in receiving yards, Emac, it's 83 yards in the second game of the season that he played in. And as you mentioned, he had missed some time as well. So it's weird because, like, he comes back from the injury and has some success right away with 83 receiving yards. Think like, all right, Xavier Worthy's going to be a guy for the Chiefs. And then that's the best game he's had of the entire season. He scored 1 touchdown this year receiving, and it came back against the Lions in a 30-17 win back on October 12th. He's just not really been all that good. He's got one game all year with more than 61 yards. He's not scoring touchdowns, and he's still priced as if he's been producing fairly well. So it's going to be hard for me to click on Xavier Worthy. So watch this be the breakout game now.
I agree. Now I have to look and see if was that the game that I liked him. It was the Sunday Night Football game, I believe, but that's not the game I'm thinking of. So. All right. Yeah. Juju Smith-Schuster.
I was going to say real quick, we do have a super chat here.
Oh,
I don't know if you've seen this, but this is from Mastermind Magruder 6851 because there's already 6,850 ones before Mastermind Magruder was able to make his name here. But he wants to know, what settings should he use in The Sims for the main slate 150 minimax, 20% to first on low stakes or questionable? So, yeah, I do think you should put it on low stakes, but your percentage to first should be what that tournament pays out to first, which I believe it's 10% off the top of my head, Emac. So the way you find out the percentage to first is just what is the payout to first relative to the entire pool. So for, let's say, the minimax, if it's a $100,000 prize pool and it's 10,000 to first, 10,000 is 10% of 100,000. So therefore you put it on 10% to first. So that's how you want to use that setting there. I don't know exactly if it's the same payout structure every single week, but I think it's usually 10% to first. You know, for sure if that's
almost always the mini max is 10% to first.
Okay. And then we got Clint here. Clinton Weatherwood wants to know, good evening, gents. Would you boost the Ds in any direction or trust the Sims on this one? So let's see. What do we have? We've got like pretty reasonable amount of defense. 4K and $3,600 are both showing up in about 20% of lineups. That's pretty reasonable to me, Mac. It's also not really any different than the fields. I don't think you have to really do anything crazy. I would trust the Sims with this one. Sometimes I'll look a little bit closer if I run the Sims. It's like 40% of a defense on Showdown. That'll make me think a little bit. But when they're both projected for 20% ownership and they show up in 20% of lineups, it's probably about fair.
Yeah, what you might be seeing, Clint, is that usually we're still a little bit higher than that. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't seem to be the case for this game. I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't go over 30%. I don't like to go, 10% more than whatever the field's kind of at. But you could make kind of the argument is, all right, Kansas City really doesn't have any sacks over the last few weeks. They have like one interception and like one fumble recovery over the last 5 games combined. And Houston, they have to deal with Mahomes and an offense that doesn't give up a ton of sacks nor a ton of turnovers. So it's one of those games where you're like, oh, wow, this is tough all the way around. It's cold, et cetera, but weird stuff happens. And we know that defenses can absolutely break the games. We saw, Seattle's defense today, yet again. They were a little more expensive, but they had a 100-yard return touchdown. It seems to be a regular thing for them. That's the kind of stuff that can really be a difference maker here. So that's what gets the wider range of outcomes. And because it's easier to pinpoint the defense than which Blake Corum or fill in the blank on Mr. Nobody, the Cade Stover gets a rushing touchdown or something like that. It's harder to know which one of the field is going to get to. That's why we end up a lot of times on the defense, just to embrace that variance. From there, but I wouldn't go too overboard. And to turn that around, we usually, the Sims and I like to go above the field on kickers. I'm not going to push that tonight. I'm just going to take what the Sims are. I don't like the kicking in cold weather.
And if you do look, there usually is either kickers or defense that will show up more prominently on a slate. And for this one, we've got 27% of Harrison Butker. We've got 47% of Kyerme Fairbairn. So if you guys are trying to figure out who to roster to save salary within that mid-range, our Sims really, really like the kickers for today. So that's the direction that I would recommend going. If you're playing like one lineup, you're choosing kickers, defenses, probably Fairbairn and Butker is the way to go.
I would agree. Let's hit on that real quick. So Fairbairn, remember, this is his 9th year in the league. He's kicked with Houston the entire time. They're an indoor team. He has been pretty good outside of one bad year. He surprisingly has never made the Pro Bowl, and he has almost this is all in my article. He has almost a 90% conversion rate on his field goals for his career. So it's really, really good. Butker on the other side, the team doesn't have him kick from beyond 50. This season, plus the 2 preceding ones, he only has 15 kicks from beyond 50. He's made 10 of them. Now, he's good inside. Remember, they gave him that big contract, and they like him. And he's got to deal with this November and December and into the playoffs at Arrowhead Stadium, right? So it's like Jake Elliott. There's just, or Boswell in Pittsburgh. There are just some guys that's like, no, they figured it out here. That means something to us. We're going to pay them. And that's what it is with Butker. And Butker, we always remember because, so many years he's just had a gazillion extra points. But I'm a tiny bit nervous about him, but their kicks could all be 45-yarders, and I'd have egg on my face, right? Field goals are a very fickle mistress.
Yep. There's nothing you said there that I really disagree with. And also through the dupes up, because that's something that we get as a popular request. Yeah, there's a lot of people in chat that are asking about the dupes. So I did throw these up here. I'll read off for you guys. There's not any one lineup that's expected to dupe way more than all of the other lineups. So there's not anything that's showing up with like 300-400 dupes or anything, but you guys will notice here that a lot of the most duped lineups, kind of interesting, Mahomes at captain, or there's a bunch of Dalton Schultz lineups that are duped in the captain spot, which is kind of interesting because Dalton Schultz is, what is he? He's pulling some ownership in the captain spot, 7%, but it's nothing, outlandish. I guess that if you play Dalton Schultz in the captain spot, it just lands you on a lot of very similar builds in terms of people playing Schultz to get to Rashee Rice, to get to Patrick Mahomes, and just kind of land on the same players. But in general, Patrick Mahomes, Dalton Schultz, those were the lineups that had the most dupes here. I'll throw it back up again.
Yeah, and the thing, and you hit on exactly why that's happening, Greg. The other thing to remember about Schultz, I think he has 3 touchdowns on the season, but he has been super, super steady. He usually gets, 40 to 50 yards, almost like clockwork. And that makes him an appealing play because if he does that and then gets the touchdown, you're looking at double-digit fantasy points. Mm-hmm. So that's the appeal with him. But that's where a lot of conservative builders get there. The Sims like that as well. Base plus there's some upside. Whoa, well, we want this guy. And I noticed that he was in the optimals of 2 other prominent sites here. So he probably could be higher than what we and we account for all this. Everybody in the industry is looking at what everybody else is doing. We're trying to figure out where everybody lands. And you have to know who moves the needle the most for which format, which sport, whatever it is, right? I'm sure we're up there for NBA, but obviously there's a ton of football sites, right? So, but we try to look at that when we're figuring out what the field's going to do, and everybody has nice little algorithms that attempt to look at all this. But when you start to see things get off, it's like, well, shoot, the fill in the blank site did this and at the last minute, and we weren't expecting it. So that's just something to think about because it's just minor changes change things a lot as you run them through the simulations, which is why we say don't monkey with this until you get the lineups built. Then sort, boost, filter, everything that you need. Excuse me. So we got 11 minutes to go here. I see you've got a super chat up. Would you like to fire that up?
Yeah, I did have a follow-up. Clayton says, what is the significance of randoms when favoriting your top 150? I assume you mean uniques, Clayton.
Yes.
I assume that's what you mean. If I am incorrect on that, let me know, because I think that's what you mean by randoms there. So I use it on certain situations. So for NFL main slates, I typically don't use it for NFL main slate just because there's so many players in the pool that a lot of the lineups are pretty different anyway. For Showdown, I usually have it set to 2 uniques, which you'll see here on screen. One thing that Tom does, CEO, who has had a lot of success with Showdown this year, he did a tweet about this. He did like a little thread. He'll actually do 3 uniques for like his top 50 to 100 lineups. And then for his next 50 to 100 lineups, he'll change it to 2 uniques. For me, I'll usually go to 2 uniques. I also like to look at every slate is different too. So that's something else to consider is that if you look here at the numbers at the bottom, we have here Emac across all the lineups selected. This is what the lowest sim ROI is, and this is what the average sim ROI is. So you'll see here, let's put it on 0 uniques, favorite lineups, And we have here on 150 lineups with 0 uniques for this slate, a min sim ROI of 171, average of 242.6. Okay. Now let's go to 2 uniques, keeping those numbers in mind. And on 2 uniques, we have now 153.6 as the min sim ROI. 229 is the average. So it dropped it a little bit, but nothing all that significant. You're giving yourself a little bit more diversity in your lineups too. Now for showdowns, this is where things could get kind of hairy. Sometimes there are good enough spread of lineup options, like different combinations, where if you go to 3 uniques, you're getting pretty different builds, but it won't really change your average sim ROI all that much. Other times you put it to 3 uniques and it could just totally tank your average sim ROI, which you'll see here is what ended up happening. When I put it to 3 uniques, we ended up having some not as great lineups selected Emac. So the min sim ROI was 2.4 and the average was still 145.5. So what that tells me is there's probably not quite enough great lineups on the slate or enough different builds for me to want to put it on 3 uniques. So I'd be more inclined to go to 2 uniques for this particular slate. But yeah, it is something that I like to use for showdown slates. And then it's also something that I like to look at for stuff like for showdown slates or for like NBA 2-game slates or for like NFL if you're playing the 3-game slates or something like that.
Yep, that absolutely makes sense. Did you end up with any Noah Gray lineups?
Let me see here. Let me go back and select. I don't remember the exact exposure, but it wasn't a meaningful amount of lineups with him. Let's see. What was it in the Sims that Noah Gray showed up in?
Yeah, I call that out because I didn't get any. So I'm gonna delete 2 of my lineups that were lower in ROI, and this is another way to get what you want. And then I'm gonna add 2 filter on Gray and pick out 2 that I like with him because I like to build my 50 lineups plus my cash game. So that's another way you can utilize the Sims as you play around with them.
All right. So Clayton, I hope that answers your question.
By myself.
Hope that answered Clayton's question. I think that's what he was expecting, but yeah, he said thanks in chat. So I think we're good. I think we have it covered. I also want to check to make sure we didn't have any other questions in Discord here, Emac. Let's see. Do we have anything that came through in Discord? We do. We've got Pat Gang Swish wants to know, what do you think about defense in single entry tonight? I probably wouldn't play a defense in a single entry. Mentioned before, I'd be more inclined to go to the kickers. That's where data likes more. Here's one thing that I'm interested to hear from you, Emac. Are there any contrarian captains you like? Because we haven't talked too much about the captain options today.
Yes. So I have built out my lineups and I'm just getting ready to upload them. But let me tell you guys what I did with captains. So I'm matching the field with Nico Collins at 15. I'm going with Patrick Mahomes at 15. The field's at 22. I'm doing 10 of Dalton Schultz. The field is at 6. Stroud, I'm at 10. That's a little higher than I wanted. Sorry, I was thinking of the kicker. The field's at 8, so I'm good with that. Marks, I'm doubling the field. I'm at 8. Rashee Rice, I'm under the field. Kelsey, I'm doubling the field. So I'm picking, and those names aren't very weird, but I have more captains tonight than I have in a long time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 18 captains, which seems impossible.
Yeah, Emac, I thought you were gonna pull the abacus out there for a second. I could feel you counting the number of captains.
My lips were moving. The socks were off. I didn't quite have to go to the abacus. But a lot of these I just have in one of my 50 lineups, which is a way to go. But that's a spread I haven't seen before. But I don't have a good read on this game. These are 2 good defenses. It is not the best offensive environment. It's an okay offensive total. It's a close spread here, right? We have seen Andy Reid in prior. It seems to do this more often not in the primetime games. Do something silly with a running back. I always like to call out Derek Gore from Once Upon a Time. We have not mentioned Brashard Smith. He's more or less fallen out of favor. He is down to about 10 to 12 snaps a game. That doesn't mean he can't get something, but he really needs, Pacheco to get hurt or Hunt to get hurt. I guess we didn't talk about those 2 guys either. Hunt has kind of consolidated the touches, but he's not running away with it. he's been a little more efficient when he's had the options. Pacheco is still the more explosive guy, but Hunt's got the nose for the end zone, and Reed is trusting him now. But remember, we've seen Reed do weird things with, who is it, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and just a variety of running backs. So it's hard to, pinpoint where those are. That adds another variable here. Andy Reid, with time to think about games and important games, he will come up with some wrinkle that we're not thinking of. But Xavier Worthy could be that guy. It just gets hard. So I wanted to be more spread out tonight than I have been in prior showdowns. So that's my one call out. Is normally I have 7 or 8 captains. I've got double that, but a bunch of them are onesies in that 50 lineups.
So I might be living in the past here, Emac. This is going to relate to the captain spot, by the way. But I feel pretty confident that we're going to see the Chiefs win this game and get themselves at least stay alive in the playoff race. They're at home. Super pivotal game here against the Houston Texans. Texans have been up and down all season as well. But with that in mind, I like the Chiefs to win this game. And who is the pass catching back for the Texans? It's Woody Marks. We just haven't seen a ton of work for him in the passing game as of late because the Texans have been winning their games lately. They've won 4 games in a row. But if you go back to earlier on in the year where we were seeing them in some more games where they were maybe struggling or down a little bit, he did have games with as many as 5 targets. He had 5. Actually, interestingly, he actually had 5 targets against the Titans, even though they won that game 26-0. But he had 5 targets against the Texans. He had 4 targets against the 49ers. He had 3 targets in the game that they lost to the Broncos. So in the interest of trying to find some contrarian options for the captain spot that I think have upside, in the event that this game script plays out how I think it will, with the Texans playing from behind, I think Woody Marks probably gets 3, 4, 5 targets in the game. And then if you're rostering him at the captain spot, you get a little bit more flexibility to be able to spend up for, like Nico Collins, Patrick Mahomes, Rashee Rice. So if I'm going to be different, I like Woody Marks, and we're seeing that in our data as well. We're about 3x the field on him in the captain spot. So if I'm looking to go way off the board, the ownership pretty consolidated at the captain spot by the field. We've got Mahomes in 23% of lineups, Rashee Rice projected for 17% ownership, Nico Collins projected for 14% ownership in the captain spot. So more than half of the field's lineups are expected to contain those 3 players. If I'm going to roster somebody else, Woody Marks is the interesting off-the-board one for me.
I like that. I like that a lot. We are 90 seconds out. Shout out to all you guys for being here. Miss Amy, I know Sotex is here. SC is here. Dirt McGirt. I'm sure many others are lurking. Plan B smoothies. We had the smoothie wars again today. We had Clayton. He's in here. Always like seeing him. But shout out everybody. You guys make this work for us. So Toxic, also known as Sotex, but he brings the toxicity to the chat here.
Your enemy.
He is in the mix. Thank you all as we head into the holiday seasons. This helps us out a lot. I appreciate all you guys, liking and retweeting my articles. That helps us keep those free for everybody. And of course, liking this and subscribing keeps the YouTube content flowing. And we also have the Stokastic Stokastic YouTube channel where you can be a subscriber and get those notifications. I'm just looking at Tails here. I don't know if you probably have a better screenshot, but just checking out what's going on there. Left a review. I'm going to log in over the holidays at all my friends' phones and leave a review here on Tails to help us get to that 1,000 reviews before Christmas.
Yeah. By the way, Emac, you holding your phone up to the screen. Nobody was able to see what was on your screen. If you guys, but it's okay because you were just teasing. If you guys want to see what was on Emac's screen, just go to Tails.bet or download the Tails app, and then you'll be able to see what's going on over at Tails. So go check out all the stuff we have there. The app is free. I post a ton of free bets there every day. I have had a really good NBA betting week to the bets that I posted to Tails as well. So check it out. It's free. You got nothing to lose.
Absolutely. And with that, my dog is now whining at the door. She always wants to make an appearance on the show or impact it somehow. Any final thoughts before we get on out of here, Greg? We're going to be doing this again tomorrow. You're going to get the NFL Monday Night Football breakdown. You're going to get Josh Engelman with the NBA strategy show. There will be most likely a hockey show at around 1 or 2. And then, of course, basketball, NBA live before lock leading into the NFL live before lock because we are in the heart of sports season.
Yeah, nothing else from me, guys. Just like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Good luck. We'll see you back here tomorrow. Later, guys.